It's episode 58 again, and we'll explain that. We'll explain why it's episode 58 again. As the song says, this is how we do it. We're just jumping right in. So we tried this 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago. Again, first off, thank you very much for having Alisa on here. It's always an honor. We're going to get into the whole thing again, but 2 nights ago, at this exact same time, we tried this exact same thing. We started. We had some technical difficulties. I think I hit record, but then we were having technical difficulties, so I had to shut the Zoom down. And then we got back in, and as soon as we got back in, the energy is always great between us. So we just got right into it. And after an hour and a half, I said, okay, we're going to cut it here. And then we started talking afterwards. And I said, okay, I'll just edit it out, and this will be afterwards. And then you looked up at the screen and said, I don't see anything being recorded. But the amazing thing about that is the simple fact we discussed for an hour and a half. We discussed pole dancing. We discussed mental health. We discussed how to deal with just what happened. And again, I'm grateful because this exact same thing happened about a month or 2 ago. And it was a friend, Joe Garifo. It happened with, and it was just like, but luckily, again, it was the same type of thing. But that one bothered me a lot more. And it was like, okay, I have this, and Jenny worked with me, and she actually helped me with a checklist tonight. That I have a checklist.
I told you, it's like when you go out drinking with buddies or mates or whatever, you're going to go like phone, keys, wallet, record.
And it's like I've done this so many times, and it's like, okay, but it's getting old, and it's
we got excited. We got excited, and we jumped without the safety harness on, and we just free fell. So,
but it was such a great babble, and I'm grateful that we have that. Only us know about what happened in that babble, the fun of it, and I don't know which way this is going to go tonight, and that's the glory of this, is that I don't want to come on here and go, okay, let's try to replicate that, because
no, you can't.
No, you can't. It just flowed. It was what it was. It was absolutely beautiful.
To be there.
Thank you for the tools. Thank you again for what we talked about, tools for dealing with things. And again, I went upstairs that night, and I stopped in Dakota's room first, because I usually let her know, my editor, okay, the video is so long, you just got to do this, blah, 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 blah. And I walked in and I said, you have no work for tonight.
No job
and
today.
she immediately looked at, because I guess she saw the look too, and she was just like, it didn't record again. And I was like, I forgot to hit. So, but again, she was like, I think she was waiting for the meltdown, but it was just like, we're going to do it again in a couple of days. And that's it.
I felt so bad that evening. I was like, oh God, like it's annoying, because it's whatever, even if we can do it again like 12,000 times, it's just like, oh, why didn't we? I hate it when I'm like, I think I'm recording a really nice moment, whether it could be the beach or whatever, and you think you haven't, and then you go home and you're like, why is this only a fucking photo? Why is this a shit photo? It's like a blurred photo as well. So I get it. It's annoying.
But we have to be grateful for the fact that we had the conversation that we'll always have. And
absolutely.
That's what I'm going to take away from it. And again, I'm grateful. Like I said, you gave me tools that night during the babble that helped me afterwards, that I was actually able to just, I had a little bit of, anxiety about it. And then it was just like, no, it's again, this is a great friend. I can just, we're going to do it again. And it's going to be what it is.
It was meant to happen that way, that whatever, I must have said something on there that was like, no, this is, maybe I should be grateful that it record. I don't know.
Listen, we can't go back and change anything. All we can do is just keep moving forward, and that's all we can.
The bank is now open.
Let me tell you that helped me. There were a couple of times that night I was just like, the bank is closed. There's nothing that can be done. So that's it. I'm not going to bother the guy vacuuming inside. No one knows what we're talking about, and that's fine.
You can. He won't be able to. You're just going to get more frustrated. Like, it's just kind of like, if you boil something for too long and you leave it there, it'll burn. There's no point in burning out over it.
Do you want to explain the bank is closed theory? Because like I said, that was something we discussed 2 nights ago that didn't get recorded. But again, it actually helped me when I found out that we didn't record. So it was a great therapy tool.
So basically, it's a concept I came up with some different clients of mine, and then I've just used it moving forward over and over. But basically it's radical acceptance. And that term literally means what it is. It's radical acceptance over things we have no control over. And it's really, really hard because as humans, a lot of us want control over every situation we're in. And sometimes we don't have that. And so when we don't have that, it's kind of like, do you want to just sit there and ruminate and ruin your night, ruin your day, ruin everybody around you's energy? Like, you can't, it's just shit, right? Or you can kind of go into it with this idea that visually, like if it's 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday night or it's Sunday and you need to go to a bank teller and ask them something or get something and you can't, it's completely out of your control. Every single fucking bank in the country or wherever you are is closed. There's nothing you can do. You can either go in, you can try to break into the bank and, you know, potentially harass the person that's in there just vacuuming, doing their job. They're not going to be able to help you though. They're not the teller. It's still not the person. You can still, there's levels to it. You can smash glass. You can go in there and try to, you know, open a safe. I don't know. You can harass someone, but it's not going to get you very far except for behind bars. So you might as well got a horrible bout of sinus today. So just if I'm off camera blowing my nose.
It's allergy season.
Or yes, it's the last babble I had was like allergy to exercise, and now I've just got allergies. So in this case, it's more just accepting like the bank is closed. What I can do though is go tomorrow morning early. So it's kind of creating a plan, so to speak, of okay, I can't do anything about whatever I'm worried about now. However, I can go early tomorrow to the bank. I go Monday, or if it's a Saturday, I'm just going to enjoy my Sunday and I'll go early on Monday, line up, be the first person at the DMV or the bank in this case, and be there. So there's literally nothing you can do. So you can sit here and just be concerned and try to break into the bank, or you can just go, the bank's closed, can't do anything about it. Next, what's next on the list of things to do? And that's it's simple. We simplify it. Just simplify it. You have to minimize it, just simplify it.
It's a great tool. It's a simple tool and it's a great tool. The bank's closed. There's nothing that I can do about it right now.
Oh, there's things you can do, but it's not going to help you.
Yes,
it's going to get you into more trouble.
And that's a key thing too. Like the ruminating, the just sitting, the stewing in it sometimes. And I think sometimes I get comfortable doing that sometimes. I get
called out on it all the time, and that's why I had to come up with something like that, because you can get sick from it, really sick.
Yeah, in
all ways, mental and physical. So you just got to learn what's worth your energy and what's not. And if it's going to ruin your entire everything, is it even worth thinking about? Because then you get it done and then you're like, okay, I got it done. And then what?
Oh, that's the thing too. Like a lot of times too, like you sit and you're just like, I need to be mad. And that's a little bit selfish and a bit silly. I don't.
No, we
need
don't
to be
do that.
But
we need to be mad. We need to be sad.
Yeah, and you want to sit with it. But the thing is, though, is I'm learning a lot better now. I call it going into my hole. When I'm feeling depressed, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I'm feeling everything, I go into my hole, and I try to keep it short. I try to keep it to a minimal. There are times it can be half an hour. There are times it can be a day. There are times it can be days. Everything can just compile, and you'll still function. You'll still go through everything, but you're a shell. You're just, everything is shut down inside. And then you get to that point where it's just like you said, how much more time am I going to waste? How much more energy am I going to waste? I'm missing out on a life just because I want to sulk.
Well, there's a good saying that I really go by, and it's that a rich man wants 1,000 things and a sick man wants one. And I forget that until like I get a headache, or I get, a blocked nose or a runny nose in this case, which looks very weird considering where I live. So just people walking around rubbing their noses and not on anything. So it's that concept of, how when you get knocked down, you recognize how much certain things matter, and we can just brew on this, but your body's going to take over eventually. And if you keep putting that amount of stress and pressure on you, your body's going to go, we're lying down now, and you're not going to have a say in it. Like I have pass out bouts. Like I literally pass out. It's a thing. Yeah. My dad knows, my mom knows. I got it from her, I think. So it's kind of like my body just goes, nah, you can keep trying, but the bank's closed. it tells me. So I'm like on the floor, my legs up, going, "Fuck! I wish I could just. I wish everything would just stop spinning for a second. I would." And then nothing matters. Whoever's mad at you, who you're mad at, what happened, whatever, nothing fucking matters. It can wait. All you want is that to feel okay again.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we only get that when we're sick or someone around us is sick. And that's when we realize like nothing actually matters except for health.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what we live by in this house. It's and again, like every day is something different. Today was an interesting day. Jaden had a rough night last night, so we kind of expected the morning to be a rough morning. You know, he kind of follows patterns, but he got up this morning and he was wonderful. We had somebody from the state had to come here, and they had to do. They were here for about an hour and a half, sitting with Jenny and I and Jaden, just catching up, just to see how he was doing with everything. He did really well with that. And since he had a rough night last night, we had a feeling that he would want to sleep at some point. So
Right.
it's very interesting. Jaden's not one to nap. Like if you ask him if he wants to nap, he'll immediately sign like no.
Really? I
Yeah,
didn't know he can sign. So he signs to you. So
he has it's a very limited sign,
Yeah.
and it's, you know, there's ASL, American Sign Language. We have what's called JSL. It's Jaden's Sign Language. Because of his strokes. Yeah, because of his strokes and his dexterity issues, a lot of his sign is close to what it is, but it's not exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And we're working with, he lost a lot of communication for some reason over the past couple of months or year, and we're really trying now to get that back up. So again, you have everything going on, you have all these stressors, you have everything, and a lot of times it's the key word there is, like you said, health. When Jaden is good, we are good in this
The
house.
whole house is great. Yeah, of course.
You can forget
Yeah.
what we went through. You can forget everything. But on days like today too, where he was kind of up and down,
then you're up and
different.
down. So like, what's going to happen? When's it going to happen? You're kind of on edge. Yeah, it's a scary kind of. It's almost like the silence. And I teach this as well. It's like almost like we get comfortable. How many times did I just say like? Then we get comfortable in the chaos, and then as soon as there's silence, we're scared, and that's where self-sabotage can come in, and that's a whole nother subject. And in this case, it's more so, do we need to be on standby as to what's about to happen? If he doesn't want a nap, like, why is he feeling so good? Instead of being like, she's great, and just embracing in that moment. It's scary to do that. It's easy to go, yeah, but what's about to happen? It's so much easier. Not that you do that, but it's a human nature. It's a defense mechanism so that we don't get our hopes up and get let down.
It is. It's a life of constant. We had one of our somebody had told us once that we basically live in post-traumatic stress every day from the day before. There is no break. It's just a constant, and
your day is only as good as the last hour.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is so true. And trying to figure it out, and again, like we talked about this last time, and we're going to touch on some things we touched on last time, but I'm grateful. There's a handful of people that I just feel connected to. Like I said, we discussed energy before, like yourself, that just for whatever reason reach out whenever. It doesn't. It could be once in a blue moon, but when it is, it means something, and there's a reason, and the connection is there. And I think you're very good too. I think when. I'll use myself, for instance, because I know with a lot of other people that we're connected to, but I'll use myself, for instance, where you may reach out to me to see how I'm doing, and I'll be like, okay, fine, whatever. I think you know me by now, and you know how I answer and respond to things. Where you'll call bullshit on me though, and I appreciate that.
Because it's so much easier to just say I'm good, and it's so sad that society's become okay with that, because it should be okay, and should is a judgment, but I wish it was okay for somebody to go, you know what, I'm not having the best day, nothing anybody can do, just not having a great day. And for that to be like, oh, well, you know, if I can support you in any way, you know, I care about you. Just that in itself is just nice. Or I see you.
It's I think when you have a handful of people that you know, that when you're asked that question that you can answer honestly and openly with. The last babble that I did with Scott Miller, another special needs father, it was a great, deep, honest discussion too. And we discussed that exact thing. When people ask how you're doing, and I don't like to use the term normal, but like we're like an abnormal, well, we are an
No,
abnormal
let's say
family,
natural.
but
Let's say natural.
yeah, natural, that don't deal with what we deal with. And like they'll ask, hey, how you doing? And it's like there's sometimes like I'm ready, like, oof,
What do you
that
want me to
is
say to
that
you right now?
you
Like, how the fuck do you think? Yeah. What do
exactly
you think?
you
What, like,
you
I probably do that because I'm an asshole. But I'd probably be like, what the fuck do you think? I had sleep for 4 hours. What, like, and I say that to people and I don't have any, like, it's just me kind of thing. So I'm like, take care of my dad, but like, it's not, I don't have a special needs child that I'm taking care of, as well as a wife and a daughter and, things going on around me like that. So almost like, just, how are you? I don't fucking know how to answer that question. Just tell me how you are. Because honestly, I'm not about to sit here and talk and complain. On the other side, though, again, it's kind of, why are you even asking? So, and I think we touched on that last time, was I speak with intention, and I'm very cautious of what I say, how I say it. And my dad is not, I mean, he is, but he's not like me. As far as very cautious to what I say, just because I've had to be.
well, let's back up real quick. Like we talked about it, and people, those who don't know, you're from Australia.
Yes.
And you and your people, again, along with the people from the UK, have the greatest sense of humor, the greatest sarcasm. And again, we here in America have a tough time understanding it. I nothing has ever offended me. Nothing bothers me. If I know that it's coming from here and it's a joke, I love it. A lot of people don't understand. I joke about what we go through. We joke about what we go through. We joke about the difficulties in our lives. We joke about the traumas. We joke about the deep, dark times.
We can make a bit of a joke about it, but we can also talk seriously. So it's not a complete defense mechanism that's superficial. It's just, at times we just need to laugh about the shit.
And I think sometimes it's easier to discussing with Scott Miller, the last one too. He was discussing how they joke like when you're dealing with like your child going to the bathroom, not on the bathroom, and having to clean up. Different things that
happens to the best of us.
And he's exactly, it happens to average people.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. But it's
shit happens. I don't know. Keep going.
Yeah. So sometimes you just have to realize, okay, you can either just curse through this and scream through this, and I can't do this anymore, or you can just find the humor in it and just laugh at it, and you can get through it. Listen, there are times that you can't, but if you can,
sometimes you just got to scream through it. Sometimes that anger, you just got to let that out, because it is a secondary emotion.
There's a therapy that I still haven't tried. It was I forget the name of the show. It's not going to come to me now, but it was a show that was on a major channel for a short time, and it was with a special needs kid, and it was with his aide and everything like that. And the father had a scene in there where he would go to the airport at night and lay down at the end of the runway. And every time a plane came over, he would just scream at the top of his lungs, everything he could.
Wow.
No one would hear it. No one would think he was crazy. No one would, because if I do it here in this house, the neighbors are going to probably call the cops.
So cops are going to come. Yeah, the cops are going to come do a welfare check on everyone.
That's something that I want. I just want to find a place once in a while where I can just go scream at the top of my lungs for as long as I want to.
Go in your car, get in the car and just scream. I was talking about this today because I went to my gym and they were like, oh, you have a free personal session, whatever. And I was like, okay, even though I know it's all sales and stuff, but I was like, this guy's actually really good. I wouldn't mind a personal training session anyway. But I was like, you know why I like group classes over one-on-one? Because I like people standing there with headsets on and there's music blasting and I'm complaining, but no one can hear me. So I can go, fucking shit, I don't want to do this shit. Really, another fucking one? Like, and no one can hear me. Like, no one's looking at my face. Everyone's trying to focus on themselves.
So you turn that into a therapy.
I turn everything.
Everything. Yeah.
I need coping skills, because otherwise my go-to is anger. So if I don't do something, I've got a lot of, I know I teach anger management, but it's all a work in progress here. So I learned the art of the mask and teach people how to not have it, the opposite of doing it. So I know the art of the mask, but when you're not feeling well, you're in a group class and just cursing out everyone. When that music's pumping and they're going, all right, another 5, you're going, fuck it, cunt. No one can hear you. It's fine. In Australia, I can hear you. And you say it to the person, and I'll say it to the trainer, Dirk. His name is Dirk, who's our trainer back home. And I'm like, are you fucking really another one? And but here, because it's California, so everyone's smiling, and you can do another one. We're not gonna die. I fucking am. That's fine. You can't see it though. But fuck you and die. I'm gonna die with you.
I want to move to Australia. Oh.
I mean, there are some places there where a lot of places there where they need a lot of help there. I'd say it's almost as racist, if not more, than America.
Yeah.
So that really breaks my heart. And I'm really, this is the really bare minimum to say this, but I'm just really proud that my dad, who's in his late 60s, isn't like other late 60-year-olds that I know them. Has a very different mentality, very different opinion and viewpoint of what's going on, not only in Australia, but around the world. And just so, like, I remember when there was a thing, I forgot what it's called. Oh, I'm blank on the word now, but it was what's it called? Not a reform. I don't know. They sent out forms to everyone to like sign if gay marriage should be legal in Australia. And I remember like my dad ticking the box for like, yeah, it should be legal. I was like, why like, I'm proud of you. And that's so sad. That's so sad that that's the bare minimum. And I know a lot of their parents, they were ticking no for very various reasons. And I was like, God, like, how is this affecting you?
It's wonderful that we are. I mean, it's horrible that we're still dealing with it. Like Jenny and I say all the time too. Like we were watching Barney Miller the other night, and that show, I forget exactly what year. It's 80s, I think. And the subjects that are going on, you could take that show and you can put it on the air today, and everything that they were dealing with back then. Really, nothing has changed. Like a lot of times too. Like my daughter Dakota, things will bother her, what's going on in the world. And I'll have to go, wait a second, hold on. You have to understand, we went through this, maybe not exactly the same, but history repeats itself. I mean, right now is an insane time, but history does repeat itself. It goes through things, and through every time you would just hope that people learn and grow more. And it's just getting, I mean, you do see it, you have seen it a lot these past couple of years. We need so much more, but we are getting there. And again, wonderful for people like your father. And I know a lot of older people too, a lot of older generations. You can talk to some of them and they can grow, they can understand. And some of them you can't. And you just have to go, okay, that's all they ever heard. Is it their fault? Well, yes and no, they can change and grow. But they want to stay stuck in all that they know.
They're scared of anything else. It's scary. Yeah. And I get that too. So that's why I kind of have to step back if they're like in their 80s, like, okay, well, that was their norm. Yeah. You know, it's so it as frustrating as it is, it's kind of like I have to say they don't have a bank. Yeah. I don't even have a bank to go to. There's literally nothing there. So, and not that they're empty-headed, it's just like there's not even like it's cash only. Well, and we don't even use cash anymore. It's a different time.
Yeah, you see the videos and you see, you know, the way some of these people talk and the way some of them act, the Karens, and it's just like, where did you live? Like
my dad gets he sends me these things. He's like, where did I get off? And I'm like, Dad, you look just like them, A, and B, so will I in a second. So he was like, God, they're just ugly humans. And I was like, yeah, but you know, I've also, and I think I touched on this, but I've got clients who some of their, you know, family members have severe mental health disorders, and some even have kind of dementia and Alzheimer's. And they're always, their family are always scared that they're going to end up on someone's video because they've gone on a rant and they're like, they were not like this before. And then they got sick and this is what's happened. And it's not like them at all. And it's true with Alzheimer's and dementia. It doesn't mean that you become anything different. Like, it doesn't mean that you, like when people say you're drunk, you become your real self. I also call bullshit on that because I don't think I've become my true self. I've become more aggressive, but not my true self. So I think that, you know, there's a bit of fear in that, but also people are getting way too comfortable in being racist, but maybe that's a good thing. Would you rather it loud or quiet? Because in Australia, we cover it up with jokes. And I don't know what's worse.
I'm glad that it is out in the forefront now. I mean, these past couple of years have really brought it, and there's so much. And to me, the thing that bothers me and hurts me the most, and I see it with, you see it too. You see it with people that you'll see them post something, and it's just like
Oh my God.
it's
That's so
common.
sad.
Do you not care about another human being? Because when you say that, you're basically saying, I don't care about another human being for no
Yeah.
reason, for no other reason other than you think that they're different than you, but they're not. The bottom line is we're all human beings. You can break down the categories all you want. We're all human beings. We're all
Yeah.
the same thing. I don't
Literally.
understand how you can,
Same thing.
if someone does something to you personally and you want to hate them, that's fine. But to hate another human being with knowing
That
nothing
you don't
about
even
them,
know.
I don't understand where that can be in your heart.
It's an insecurity, and it's also, have you seen American History X?
No.
It's a heavy one.
I should. I know. Yeah, I've heard
Heavy.
so
It's
much
heavy.
about that. Yeah.
I mean, watch it with caution.
Yeah.
Just, don't watch it on a great mood. Don't watch it on a sad mood. I don't know when is a good time to watch it. But even my dad was like, afterwards, he couldn't talk for a while. There's a scene in there that really sticks with me in my head. Anyway, because I've witnessed that shit myself. Not the violence so much, but other stuff. But it's really interesting to see that progression, and I don't want to ruin the movie for you, but you see this person go from a complete skinhead Nazi to reform, and then he had to go through some shit to do that, to reform, and then his little brother's into it, but you can see where it stems from. Their father was like that, and their father beat the shit out of them. Like it's all about hate. And then if we look at hate, it's very close to love. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. It's not hate. Hate, you've got a lot of energy for someone. To ignore, to go out of your way to ignore someone, like if you go, hi Lisa, in the street to me and I just look away, that takes effort. I have to actively acknowledge you and go, do not, because you instinctively just want to wave. So it's a lot of effort. Indifference is the opposite of love.
Wow.
So to hate something, I'm like, oh, you give a shit enough. You're putting a lot of fucking effort into hating a group of people. Now, the problem with that is it can get dangerous when guns are involved and all that. But they're putting a lot of effort into creating all of these little groups and gangs to feel connected to other people because they didn't feel that way. And why it's legal is beyond me. The KKK and neo-Nazi groups, it's beyond me. And that's a whole different subject. How it's legal, I don't know. And we've got them in Australia too. But I think, again, there was actually a guy that was hugging, and he was an African-American. He is an African-American guy. And he's gotten a lot of threats from the KKK because a lot of the people from there, and he's this big guy, and he's gone to their rallies or when they've done, protests or marched in the street, and he's just gone up and hugs them. And they've left the, I want to call it a dumbass fucking gang, but I don't know what do you call it, a clan. And they've left the clan, and he's got some of their hoods, like the ones that have left. He's got their hoods or their hats or little cone hats, whatever we call them, witches' hats. And he's got them because they've left. And so then he's gotten threats. He's gotten punched in the face. He's gotten all sorts of things because they're like, you're taking our people. What do you mean our people?
He basically, exactly. He's not taking, he's just waking them
Showing
up,
them
kind of.
love.
That's
exactly love. That they're looking for in the wrong places.
The power of a hug. The power of a hug is an amazing thing. It truly is. You can be in the worst, and we discussed that the last time too, that I was having a rough day, and Jenny knows sometimes she just came up to me and she just gave me the hug, and sometimes I'll give the stiff stand, but this time it was the, all right, like you said, let it go. How long am I going to hold on to this? Yes, it was a rough day that day. Yes, it was, it's tough to watch and deal with what we deal with and knowing that it's going to come again. But do I want to sit with it during this time, or do I want to enjoy the good energy that we can have? Which energy do I want?
Which energy do you want to kind of spread as well?
Now, you said, I want to touch on, because you brought up something the last time too, and I want to bring it back up again. You said anger
it's
is
a secondary emotion.
Thank you. Yeah, if you can touch on that, I like that.
Anger is a secondary emotion. it's basically, if we want to deal with anger, and I know this because I've had to learn a lot about it, not only because of my line of work, because I'm an angry person, but there's generally, yeah, where's my bottle? Cheers, it's huge. Half a gallon. Let me drink to that.
Drink your water every day.
Yeah. I know I had a protein shake and it was disgusting, but here we are. I'm protein shaking now, apparently. So, God, I really do live in California. So, with anger being a secondary emotion, it's really easy to just click it and just lose our shit at someone, or just be angry and just join a clan or whatever. But if you really want to get to the root cause of what's going on, because it's a secondary emotion, anger is really just, it's like frustration. It could be excitement, it could be sadness, it could be betrayal, it could be so many things. And if we touched on that and you worked on that, then the anger would go away. And it's so vulnerable though, when people are scared to be vulnerable, because it's seen as a weakness and not as a strength, and it's actually a strength. So if we were to, if we were to recognize what is really going on, like angry the other day, you're probably really disappointed with yourself that it didn't record, and thinking like all these horrible, negative, just intrusive thoughts about yourself. I can just imagine that's what I was feeling. And I often reach out because I feel it. I don't know how to explain it. I feel like there's a reason, and I'm not in any way saying that I'm a medium or of any sort, but I've got it. I'm a woman, I've got intuition. So generally, if we just were to uncover, and it's scary, what we're really angry about, could be abandonment. I've got a lot of abandonment issues. I've got a lot of trust issues. Got a lot of trauma. Trauma is something that we're holding on to. When people say, just let go of trauma, it's literally, it doesn't make any sense, because trauma is what we're holding on to. So we have to learn how to either accept it, live with it, manage it, or how we can slowly release it. But you can't just let it go. So there's just different ways of looking at things. And I think a narrative is really important when thinking about certain things, because if your narrative is just black and white, you're not going to get very far with very many things. You can't. That's the people who run this world, they're not black and white thinkers. So they may act like it, but they're not. That's how we get away with things. Yeah. So yes, the law is black and white, but it's not. The only thing that's black and white is math, and even then you can still work it out differently. You can still find out different ways to work things out. So I don't really know what black and white is, except for a photo. Still some gray in there, if you look close enough. And that's really where, if you look at anger, it's like a photo. There's a bit of gray in there. What is it? You sad? Are you upset? Are you disappointed with yourself? And so I always ask if my clients or friends even are angry at something, like what, break it down. What are you angry about? I got a flat tire. I saw the thing, it said check tire pressure. You're angry at what then? Angry at yourself? No, you're really just disappointed. If we use different vernacular to describe how we're feeling, the anger will subside, and then we can either figure out what to do. There's lots of different things, but if we're just angry, we can't really work with that too much. We just got to breathe.
I think that's I have a question for you, because listening to you speak, I can almost like picture certain things happening when they happened, and there are times.
Don't use me as an example. I'm a bad example, because I'll throw a rock at something.
But there are times that things are going bad. A lot of things are going bad. Things are compiling. Yeah. Things are getting out of control. But you're moving on to the next one, and what we do in this house is a lot of times we move on from stuff. We don't deal with stuff because
that's the problem. There's no resolution.
But then the thing is, then you'll have the straw that broke the camel's back, and that may not even be anything like you said. It's it'll be like a perfect example. This was just a short thing, but the other day I was carrying some stuff upstairs, and I had my big water jug, just like you have, because I carry that around all day to make sure that I drink my water. And I was putting something down, and as I was putting it down, it got hooked in the water jug. The water jug flipped. The water came out. My shirt got soaked. It was on the floor, and I was like, because everything that was the pinnacle moment of everything else, and that wasn't, because afterwards it was just like, you spilled some water. You took your shirt off.
It
You got
wasn't even
another
milk.
shirt.
It was
Exactly.
water.
It was water. I didn't even have to clean anything up. I mean, it's water.
Yeah.
It's going to dry. But it's at that moment.
No, it's like when you get your
everything.
jeans stuck on the door handle. But so I always say, this is another thing that I always say, snowflakes create avalanches. And if you don't deal with the snowflakes, and it's a snowfall, and then there's a blizzard, and then you go skiing, and then there's an avalanche, and you get stuck in the avalanche and suffocate yourself.
Yeah, we
So
do so
we got to deal
much
with
of
the
that.
snowflakes. Yeah. But I think, look, you have to move quick in your house because things are, changing rapidly here and there. So you take what you can and go and deal with it. It'll be ridiculous of anyone to tell you to just, okay, let's deal with it right now. When you're like, can't. It's an unattainable goal. So then you'll automatically feel like you failed. So it's about just working with what you can and just dealing with as many snowflakes as you can before they become the avalanche.
Now that's a tough word, but it's a true word. You just said you feel like you failed. And that's something where I don't want to admit that, but when you said that word, it's like, that's the feeling sometimes. And it is. And you don't want to admit that. You don't want to feel, nobody wants to feel like failure, but you do feel like you failed sometimes. And you haven't.
You haven't because you're still alive.
Exactly.
And my grandfather used to always say, rest his soul, he used to always say, and it's all going to be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. And sometimes you're like, oh, well, fuck, can it be the end?
Yes.
I mean, I've gone through my fair share of dangerous thoughts, but I was ready for the end. It almost was the end. My dad saved my life. So I think that when you put it into perspective, okay, well, I got through a lot of things that I didn't think I was going to get through before. I can get through this one. And when you put that into perspective, how? I don't know, but it's going to have to work out because it doesn't really have a choice. And then it always kind of works out. It doesn't work out the way you expected it to, but because we've got to lower our expectations and higher our standards, that's all.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have low standards and high expectations, and that's where we get shamuzzled.
Shamuzzled.
That's the only way I can put it. It's the best way I can put it. We confuse ourselves.
Yeah.
Ourselves because we have this high expectation of a really low standard thing. Like if I buy an iPhone 3 and expect it to act like an iPhone 12, I'm going to be very disappointed. It looks the same company. It's not the same, but it kind of looks the same company. But and that's what, whenever somebody says something to me about something or someone or a situation, I'm like, it's for me, I'm envisioning like you bought yourself a really fucking old Nokia and you expect it to act like an iPhone or an Android, whatever you got, Samsung. So I'm like, you explain that to me because that doesn't make sense. And then they've got to think about their standards and expectations, and then they come back and go, you're right. I wish I got paid every time I heard that saying. I'd be so rich. But it doesn't mean that I know everything. Like I said, I'm a walking. I was just talking to my dad about this yesterday. How I was telling you, I was like, it's amazing how my dad said, he always used to say to me, always 1 second away from a bad mood, and then he's since changed that because I'm not a moody bitch. I'm a short-tempered bitch. So he said, yeah. So he's like, you're not actually. Said you're not actually 1 second away from being in a bad mood. You're just 1 second away from being a beast. And I was like, I'll take it. Beast mode over here means something different. He's laughing about it yesterday. I'm like, you fucked up because you thought you were insulting me, but actually beast mode means I'm going hard in the gym and I'm working hard. And he said, yeah, but you know what I meant. I'm like, yeah, I know what you meant. He didn't mean it in a good way. I mean, I'm ready to attack.
But all you can do is keep working at it. And I know mentally I'm always working at it too. I've been finding myself almost realizing like, okay, things are about to ramp up, and really trying to get myself in a better place even before it starts. Like, okay, I'll slow my talking. Everything just gets okay. Like I'll get into that, like, okay, it's going to, slow everything down.
You get into the telemarketing talk, like, so
just like, okay, because
radio station late at night personnel.
The shit's about to hit the fan. So at least I don't want to be here when the shit's hit the fan. I'd rather at least have a ways to catch up to it. So it's
right. And some people have this defense mechanism, which I'm one of those people who, when there's complete chaos and everyone's like rushing around, somebody's hurt themselves or we're running late for a plane or something, I'm the most calmest person you want around. I am the person you want around when there is complete and utter chaos.
That's me most of the time.
Right. You hold shit together.
Yeah.
I'm like that. Or when there's chaos, clients are yelling at each other, screaming. You want me around? I'm the person. I'll either go, oi. But if it's friends or whatever, and we're just say we're at an airport running late. I don't know. I've never had that before yet. Well, no, I have. But you people, especially my dad, they'll just lose their shit. And what do you mean? And like all this, and I'm like, no, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's really good. But then
Jen-
when it's quiet, I'm like, when is it happening?
Yeah.
Like the earthquake coming. When is it? So I'm
Jenny and I,
prepared.
we have to read each other. We have to give each other turns, and we have to know, like, we almost have to like see, like, okay, all right, this is going to kind of be my day, or this is going to kind of be her day, and it's that kind of, like, watching out, and I'll take the brunt of it. You work on it, and then it gets to the point where, okay, are you ready to talk? When are you ready to talk? And there's and there have been times too where, like, she may be having an extremely rough day, and I'll be the one like, okay, I got this, and then something like horrific will happen, and then, like, I'll be like, okay, like, I don't know how much longer, and then she'll have to literally turn hers off and come back
Right.
in just so I can. And it's tough, but you figure, and there's no rules, there's no, like I said, with the last babble I did with Scott, the special needs dad, he basically reached out to me asking me for advice or stuff. And I said, I can give you what I do. But I knew that was going to be a great one where I actually learned a lot from him, because no two situations are the same. No two people are the same. It's never going to be dealt with the same.
No.
And that's, like I said, what I love about you is you've taught me so many great things. It's just little things that I can take and I can use them on my own, and they can help me. And it's that you feel the heat rising, and you're able to go over to the thermostat and just turn it down just a little bit. Like, okay,
Just
it's still going to get hot in here, but it's not going to get out of control.
yeah. Yeah. And I think that's all it takes sometimes, is just to cool things down. Sometimes you just need to go in the car and scream, or just get some fresh air for a second. It's about distracting your mind for a bit, getting into logical mind, because once we're in emotional mind, it's very hard to get out of there.
Now, distracting the mind, that's something that I have a problem with. I suffer from severe insomnia, and just the nighttime is usually the worst time. I mean, we have the nursing. Jaden's room is right next.
Has it been like that since you were a little kid, or just the past 18, 17
Yeah,
years?
yeah, I would say the past 18 years since Jaden
Yeah,
got sick. I
because
would
you're
say
waiting,
that
because it's quiet at nighttime. That's why. That's exactly why. You're waiting for something.
It's the constant thought.
Your
It's the
body is
constant
on.
worry.
It's like
Yeah.
your body's a Marine in like Vietnam kind of thing, like waiting. That's what your body's doing. That's the PTSD. So your body,
Yeah.
you won't. I don't know. Even if you went away to a hotel and slept for a night by yourself, I still think you'd be like, "What's happening at the house?" I don't think you'd be able to. So it's hard to just say switch it off. I don't know. If it's something that can just go away.
But that's why I find, like I said, this is therapy right here. So again, thank you for this conversation. Therapy is music. Therapy is making music. Therapy is Jenny and I just watching what we call stupid TV, mindless TV.
Oh, I have
just
to. I have to do it.
laughing, being sarcastic.
Have to.
Therapy.
Have you watched Faulty Towers, by the way?
Faulty Towers? No.
With John Cleese? You have to watch that.
No, yeah, I do have to.
Yeah, if you watch Mr. Bean, who's Rowan Atkins, the genius, you have to watch Faulty Towers. That's something that it's not. Jada might like it too. Just everything's going wrong. It's very slapstick.
Laughter is, and that's the most important thing, and
Yeah.
that can change.
Actually, based on a true story.
There are times too we'll all be having a bad day, and I'm just thinking, for instance, just like a couple of days ago, there was something, and I think Jaden reads us a lot too, and I think he can see when we're getting overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And either we'll see it bothering him and we'll snap out of it and we'll change, or there was not too long ago, like I said, I think he really saw Jenny and I were just empty. The tank was empty. There was nothing.
You could feel it. I don't think
just
I think you can feel it.
And he started doing silly stuff. I mean, he is a silly person. He likes to do, again, slapstick stuff, silly stuff. But I forget exactly what it was. But man, he just brought it to us. And that just melts you because it's okay.
Yeah.
He sees we're in a bad place and now he's trying to fix us. So
He's tried to go into the kitchen and turn down the thermostat a bit.
exactly. And then it's like, okay,
Like, I got this, guys.
we now we can let
One
this go.
job,
Listen,
people.
he's helping us, so we can let it go
Yeah.
now. We can get back to it. And
He's like,
and again,
guys, you have one fucking job. Well, fine, I'll do it.
exactly.
Fine.
Exactly.
That's nice. That's a nice story.
It's always trying to figure it out. That's all we can do.
Well, it's just accepting it most of the time. You're not going to be able to figure out because the next day it's going to be different.
That's a very important word, and that's a tough word too. Acceptance.
I know.
That's something I did very early on. Jenny did very early on. We have friends and family that still
really
still think that Jaden is going to be fine someday, that he's going to overcome this, that we can find the right doctors. We've been to so many doctors and so many surgeons and so many different things that he's been through. And acceptance is a tough word. And when you can
radical
accept it and
acceptance,
go, yeah, this is our life. We're going to do the best that we can with it. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I don't want you to, when we're out in public, we're people notice us. We're different. We're out there. I don't care. Like we were discussing, like how like a 90-year-old person will say whatever they don't care. I will say that, but it's in nothing in anger. I will say whatever's on my mind, especially like we're out and about with Jaden, because this is my life. We're dealing with it. We're having fun, and we're silly. It's always be silly. There's that, it's just always be silly is definitely something that we live
There's
by.
no reason to not be silly. There isn't. It's kind of like you can't say bubbles angrily. So
Bubbles.
You can't say it. Try to be angry and say it.
Bubbles.
You can't.
Bubbles.
Can't. Yeah, that doesn't work. So, and I think we were talking about Prov last time, and why I was saying I honestly think you should, if not be doing classes, teaching them, because you'd be really good at just getting people to become cows and chickens and ducks. And it's something that I found therapeutic.
The thing that I found about this, and like I said, this in itself, every Babble that I've ever done, way back to the IG ones a couple of years ago, to these, whether it's you, whether it's, whether no matter what we're talking about, no matter who I'm on here.
I find Instagram Live so awkward when I do them. So I'm glad you find it fun.
I love talking to people. I love talking to people that I have a connection with. And
I don't get that on my lives. I get like 3 people. I don't know how I get 3 people, and 2 of them don't speak English, and the other one's asking me to show them my tits. So like, I don't know what to do with that. I was like, I didn't come on here for this shit. Fuck all of you.
I guess you do have it differently, and it's I understand and I appreciate and I love what you just said about that. I should be teaching this, but if I could figure out, I would. But I enjoy just coming on here. I enjoy sharing. I enjoy learning. I enjoy that what we're doing here is going to hopefully teach someone something new. It's going to give them something. It's going to put a smile on their face. It's going to give them a tool to help them when they're dealing with the bank is closed.
Yeah. And it gives us, well, me anyway, something to look forward to. Like I had clients today, and then I went to the gym to figure out, this personal training session that you get, whatever, consultation. And I'm just like, I was just looking forward to coming home, and then I had a client prior, and then just a few things to do, and I was like, I just want to join the Babble already. Like I want it to be like, I even joined early. That's the first time I've been early, so I was looking forward to it. So it's things like this, being around people that not tolerate you, not accept you. I mean, it's a bare minimum, but appreciate you. That's the ones you want to be around. And we touched on that the quality, it's just recognizing who is the quality in your life and just be around them more. Call them, annoy the shit out of them, because they'll annoy the shit out of you, and it's okay, because you already know that you've got the appreciation. Like I look forward to hearing from certain people, even if I haven't heard from them in a while, or I look forward to speaking to certain people. That's the people you want around, not the ones that you're like, I should probably check to see if we're still friends kind of thing. Like I was doing that for the longest. I stopped doing that middle of last year.
That's a huge thing. I don't know when I learned it. Like I said, I've said this so many times, like, 30 years ago, if you talked about energy to me, I would be like, I didn't understand it. When people talked about it, it was weird
Big
to me.
electricity bill, that's the only energy I know.
Yeah. And then as I started to realize, and I was connected to so many people, but I wasn't connected to so many people. And then I started to
You were
realize,
not
okay,
connected to them. You were
I had
connected to them, but you weren't connecting with them.
I had all these people around me and all these people.
It was a cluster. It's like a messy room.
And then you start to realize, wait a second, this one person, when we talk, it's different. There's something there. It makes me feel good. Just like I said, the other night, 2 nights ago, when this went to hell and there was nothing recorded, I could have been upset, but because of the hour and a half that we had,
It was just a good chat with a mate.
I had such a good feeling that I'm sorry that no one else will get to see that, but damn, it was good for us. And that's what's important. And that's, we'll
have things to reference moving forward as well. We'll like, remember that? No one was there for that conversation. Okay, we'll bring it up.
How important is it though to understand that and to realize that there are people out there with, and again, I don't understand the whole thing of the energies, how it works, but when you connect, you feel it, it's a wonderful thing. You share, you learn, they give, you give, it goes back and forth. And it is what it is. You can't explain it. Sometimes people come in and out of your life. Sometimes they're there for a long time.
Sometimes too, and they outgrow you. But there's also another energy that sometimes, and people who have gone through this, a lot of women, but there'll be energies where I can feel where I'm like, I feel sick around that. And that's generally where they're a predator, just because I've been through something. And if I can tell they're a predator, I'll hang right back. And same with some narcissistic tendencies. I'll be like, nah, I'm not engaging with that person. And but that's a feeling as well. It's not something that they've said, or it could be something that they've said that's triggered within me, and it triggers an unrelated issue. And I'm like, okay, I know what box they're in. And I don't box people in, but I will if they're narcissistic or sadistic or sociopathy kind of thing. Because it's to protect me and my loved ones.
It's important to protect your energy. I did back at the beginning of the pandemic a couple of years ago. I was just being on social media all the time because there was nothing else to do. And I just, like, certain people, I was just like I would see there and I would just be like, this is draining. And after like a couple of weeks, you're like, I don't want to disconnect them from my life, but I don't want to see, because their energy is just, and you have to protect your energy. It's important, especially with everything that we go through and everybody goes through, everybody carries a different weight. It's important to protect your energy. And if something, like you said, isn't good, whether it's something you see or whether you're in a room and you just meet somebody or you feel, walk away from it, turn it off.
Absolutely. I walk away, I'll block, I'll do whatever. I used to, with a quickness in my 20s and my younger days, when I still was hip and my hips worked properly, when I had 20 guys on call that I could call up and be like, yeah, let's go out, because I lived in New York at the time. It was just fun. I wasn't sleeping with them all. I'm just hanging out with whoever I could. I always had a backup. I just remember it didn't matter. I'd have someone back up, and there's no quality in that whatsoever. And there's some of them still to this day will just text me, be like, hey, how are you? Like, and I have to block some of them, but back in the day, I would be very quick to block. Like, you did something wrong, you fucked up, block, done, you got. And then I started to loosen up a bit, but I loosened up too much, where I just let people figure skate over me by the end of it. And I was like, okay, I'll give you a second chance, because then I started studying psychology and all that kind of shit. And I was like, oh, well, there's a reason why people do that. And I was completely dismissing me. So now I found it equal. And I've also recognized, like, people have blocked me, and I've literally had two very close friends this past year. One of them randomly blocked me after Christmas sometime. I have no idea why. No one knows why. He's kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. And the other one, same thing, disappeared off the face of the earth. He had an argument with some mutual friends and decided to just not want anything to do with anyone. So nothing that has been done in a ghosting manner is, for me now at this day and age, I used to take it seriously, but I don't take it personally, because if you don't have the mind frame to even reach out and speak to me, if you don't have that energy to like not the courage, but literally the energy. Like if you feel drained and you don't have the energy to talk to me, rather ghost me and stay ghost.
Yeah, there's no connection there anymore. And so yeah,
No, we have nothing. There's nothing to talk about at that point, because I don't want to speak with somebody who doesn't know how to communicate.
yeah. And why should I allow something that someone else feels? Why should I allow that to still bother me? If you cut
Exactly.
it, then the cord is cut, and okay, so be it. That's
I don't know what happened. I don't know if I did something, I said something, and at this point I actually, it can't be whoever is the ghosty, right? Me, you, whoever it is, it's not your fault. Even you could have said something that's terrible. You could have said your mother joke, and it's really, really horrible. But if the person hasn't told you what it is, how do you know? If you don't know, you can't do. I always say that you can't assume. It needs to be on marriage certificates as well, and sickness and health, good times and bads, without assumption, and always acting curiously. Because when you're 90 years old, 70 years old, 60, 50 even, like, you can't just assume that your partner knows that, you know, you look good, or feels that you look great, or loves you, or appreciates you. You always have to assume that they don't know shit. That's the best way to do it, because then you'll go, oh, you did something different today. Or just let them know, like, I just appreciate you. Just, it's simple. I see you. You know, I saw what you did there. That was really nice. Small things like that.
yeah.
And it goes a long way. It goes such a long way. I tell my dad just one small thing. I'm like, I'm proud of you for that. He's skipping and hopping and jumping around the whole day, and his knees barely work. So, you know, and so that's all it takes sometimes, just to be seen, can make our whole day. And that's where a lot of us don't feel that we're seen. I'll never forget when I was walking out when I worked in rehab, and I was walking out, this she was an Aboriginal girl, and she grabbed my arm. She wouldn't go near me before, and she grabbed my arm and she said, I just want to tell you that I appreciate you. You saw me, but you didn't just see me, you saw me. And I was really emotional after that. You couldn't really talk to me. I just kind of shut down, because I haven't cried since I was 13, but I just shut down, and everyone was like, you okay? And I'm like, I don't know. I was in my car. So
That's very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people won't understand what you mean by that. They'll be like, oh, she saw me. No, there's a difference between seeing someone and seeing. Yeah.
Especially when there's a stigma between white people and Aboriginal people as well. So that meant a whole lot more, especially when I was just, you know, because I always make sure that I'm very, very open about the fact that it's still very racially and just not equal in Australia there. And especially in certain parts, and what's going on there now. But when she said that, I was like, okay, well, that's, after being here for like 10 years, that's all it took for it to be like, after like 12-hour shifts, things there that I was like, okay, well, this is a thing.
If we could just connect with more people, if we could just see each other, that's all powerful.
It takes. Just see each other. That's all it is. Just to feel heard, just to feel seen. Like I said last time, it's even just when you ask someone how they are, it's not how are you. You're not just making a statement.
Yes.
You're going, how are you?
Yeah.
Curiously, yeah. And they respond like, I'm fine. You go, You sure? And they tell you, well, actually, you know, whatever's going on with them, and you listen and you go, oh my God, that sounds terrible. I can't tell you how many people have broken down because I've just listened to what they're about to say. That's all it takes. And then they'll feel better after. They'll apologize for crying, and I always yell at them, stop, don't you dare fucking apologize for crying. What are you apologizing for? Feeling, showing, you know, shedding basically words your soul can't articulate, so it cries. It's good for you. You're gonna have skin that's radiant later. I'm like, stop fucking apologizing for crying.
Yeah, so, I'm one of those too. I mean,
everybody does it.
I still, to this day, my father passed away 17 years ago. I still haven't dealt with it because of the life that we live. I mean,
Yeah.
I miss
Oh
him
my God,
every
what
day.
timing. Oh,
It's I just it's still one of those things where like every now and then I'm like, okay, am I ready to deal with that? And it's like, when am I going to be able? Because I just
there's
it's
no
just
good
been a
time.
whirlwind of,
I
there's
know.
never a moment of when can I take on that baggage? Because that's going to be a lot to deal with. And it's and
Yeah.
I sit with it, and I know it's there, and I know it's unhealthy, but it's
I haven't dealt
again,
with the death of a boyfriend that I had when I was 16, 17, actually, 17.
it's when do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? Is it
I get angry. That's
good.
that's what I mean. I get angry. But I was also, because I was angry at him at the time when he died, and I was ignoring him, and he was like, please speak to me. And then he died.
Yeah. So there's unanswered. Yeah.
Yeah. So when is a good time? The only time for a funeral and a wedding is on a soap opera, and it's at the beginning of the season or the end, because it gets you hooked. You're looking forward to it again. There's no good time for any of this shit. You just got to make time for it. I have
That's
to remind you, you have to make
make
time.
time for it. Oh yeah. Like I said, it's
But
been 17 years and I still haven't made time for it.
no, I don't make time for a lot of things. We just, well, we know how to distract ourselves with other things, whether
Yeah.
it's mindless or meaningful. We'll just distract ourselves so that we don't have to
Yes.
go down that path of vulnerability.
But how do we, that's such an honest thing you just said. We distract ourselves as much as we possibly can with dealing with what
Yep.
we should be dealing with.
Yeah.
How do we deal with what we're supposed to deal with? How?
Journal, journal, and it'll all come out. Or you can even just send. I used to do this, and I had to send like a group's apology to like 5 friends, because I would always just assume that they were interested in what was going on in my life. This was during the pandemic. My cat was dying. It was terrible. And sounds like such a horrible thing. There was people dying, but my cat died. Anyway, she was 20. So, and I remember just sending out voice notes to people going, oh, like this is what's going on in my day, since you're all interested. Nobody gave a fuck. They were going through their own shit. And so then when I came back, actually, this was just before the pandemic, when I came back from Australia, I was like, I recognized that it was extremely selfish of me to just assume that you were just ready to be dumped with all of this information that no one gave a shit about. So it won't be happening again, and I'll make sure that I'll check in first to see if you've got the A, interest, and B, brain span to listen to whatever nuisance I've got to spread. And I think it's the capacity that we've got, how much we put, how much capacity we have for others versus ourselves. We don't often give ourselves that much capacity, do we?
No, and the term healers, I think you can consider yourself a healer. I think I've had people kind of call me a healer. Again, I don't know enough about it. I'm still a little weird about that. But there are people that are healers that want to help, that want to do. And I've been doing a little bit more research and learning about that. And that's a tiring thing too, because I absolutely love to listen to people. I love to
Yeah,
try
you get
to,
no one to stop.
I'll try to give you some advice off of what I've learned in the craziness of my life. I'll try to give you, but and I've learned recently too that I was doing a little bit too much of that, and I was giving away too much, and I wasn't getting enough back.
Yeah.
And that's how I got myself. Basically, the tank was empty, and you
Yeah.
have to realize, and it's one of those things where if I could be having a bad day, and I'm going to say this outright, I could be having a bad day, and you can send me one of those voice messages, but because it's you, I'm going to listen to it.
Exactly.
It's going to be a little bit therapeutic for me, because now I'm going to think, well,
You're in
how do I
somebody
respond?
else's world.
How do I?
Yeah.
But I'll be honest. I may get that same message from somebody else that I'm not connected with, and I'm going to be like, fuck this. I don't have
Yeah.
time for it now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
I've told them what to do already twice.
exactly your energy. When my energy is down, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your energy when my energy is good or it's down. But like I said, there are people when my energy is down, I don't even want to go. I don't even want to open that email. I don't want to. Oh, so and so texted me. I'll check that later. Like I don't even want to open that now. It's I can't. It's you have to
because
protect your.
it's harboring other things though. That's why. So as well that it's who you can be completely transparent with is who you'll have the time for, and who's not, who you have to put on the mask with, and generally it's relatives. You just have to kind of put that on. I've decided not to and cut them all out. But for the most part, most people have to put on that, like, everything's fine, everything's perfect, because we just have to prove to everyone that we're capable of moving mountains, and we're not.
We're not. That's we're not.
We
I
can
get
climb them.
I get the comment all the time, it's amazing what you do and you're a superhero. And no, I'm
I've
just a
probably said that
person.
to you too, and you're
I,
just
I-
like, no, I'm just doing what I like. You're going on almost fight or flight.
yeah, it is. And like I said, I spoke with the other special needs dad, Scott, that we talked about this. And I told him afterwards, after we were done recording, I told him, I said, look, I says, I hear it and I don't accept it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it when I hear it. I don't accept it, but I told him, and I'll say this on here too. When someone says that to you, you can be kind of humble about it, and it feels weird, so it bothers you, and you tell them no. But understand, there is something to what we do that is a superhero quality. I'm not calling myself a superhero. I will call Scott.
No, I know.
I'll call other special needs parents superheroes. I'll call Jenny a superhero. I won't call myself a superhero because I know all my flaws and I know I'm not perfect. And I know if you were to watch me 24 hours a day, I'm no superhero. That's for sure. But are there some qualities? Are there some things that I do? Are they above and beyond? No, there are other people out there living similar lives, worse lives, doing much more than me. So
It's
what
like
I do
saying
is
there's always happier people, though. It's the same
there's
saying there's happier people out there. If somebody's happy, well, there's somebody else that's got reason to be happier than you.
I'm just doing the best I can with this crazy thing called life. That's it. I don't know if it's right or it's wrong. I make mistakes. We all
Well,
make
the thing is,
mistakes.
because you've got such beautiful energy, that people are, when people and animals and babies are attracted to you and people open up to you, you've got a type of energy where they feel like you're a healer kind of thing. And I say, hurt people help people. I say healed people help people. Now I'm not healed, but I'm healing the best I can, and I like to help people. I don't even know if I do that, but again, we're our own worst critic. So I think that when you say, like Jenny, I would say that about Jenny, and you won't say it about you. It's because you're your own worst critic, and you've got things in your mind that other people have said that's become your own voice, and so that's why you won't consider that. You've seen her, but you haven't seen yourself in a mirror at what you've gone through in order to get the strength and the courage that you've had to get through here. But you've seen what Jenny's had to go through. You've seen what Dakota's had to go through. But you've seen what everyone, but you haven't seen yourself in a mirror. You haven't bothered to. I'm going to call you out on it right now. You haven't given yourself the opportunity to look in the fucking mirror and go, yeah, I went through that. Like, my dad died around the same time this all started.
Yeah.
So you haven't even given yourself the chance to accept the fact that you are a superhero, and instead you're going, I see everybody else is that, but not me, because you haven't looked in the mirror. And if you have, you're looking at all your flaws, and they're not flaws, they're characteristics that some people may or may not like, and you may not like them. It's a judgment, and it's subjective. But if you picked up a mirror and looked in how much you've gone through, you might change that attitude and go, you know what, fuck it, I am a superhero. I flew when I didn't think I could, I didn't have wings, and I wasn't high.
That's the one thing that I do. I know that I'm always able to tell myself, like I said, it's been a lot lately with the tank being empty, and the tank can be empty at the end of the day, and you're like, okay, I got another hour or so to go. But when the tank is empty at the beginning of the day, that's when you just got to dig. You just got to dig deep down. You got to take those breaths, and you got to go, okay. And then when it all stops, then you literally crash to the floor, like you said, and you want to lay there with your feet up in the air and just
it's I have to.
Yeah.
I've done sessions like that. I'm like, I'm just I just had a bout of, I had one time, just quickly, I had a client once, oh God, she's been with me forever, bless her, and I had an allergic reaction, and I didn't know I had an allergic reaction. I saw her at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I just got up and washed my face and just went to go and see her, and I didn't feel anything. Like, I just kind of washed my face. I was half asleep still, and I joined the session. She goes, what's wrong with your face? And I was like, what's wrong with what do you mean what's wrong with my face? What's wrong with your face? And then I looked and it was swollen, like I had an allergic reaction. I looked like the Elephant Man. And I was like, oh, I've clearly had an allergic reaction, not to worry. And instead of thinking like I should probably go to the hospital because this like I can't feel my face, it's a bit droopy, something's wrong. I was like, let's just continue with the session. I took some Benadryl and I was like, hopefully it'll go down. So for half an hour, I'm like, do you mind sitting here with like half my face sticking out the fucking camera because it was so big? I was like, if you don't mind talking to me like this, we can still continue this half an hour session. And she was a trooper. She was like, yeah, absolutely. But I realized it was because the mask I put on it just grew with the elephant face, with the other side of my face. So I was like, I'm fine. And then afterwards I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Yeah. It went down eventually to like just here. I think something bit me and I had an allergic reaction to something, but it was just like some water was under my eye, but it was huge. And again, before I went to even think about shit, like, sorry, I can't continue this session. I was like, yeah, let's continue it. You're more important than my well-being. That's what we do.
Yeah, I think that's become exactly. You're exactly right there. It's become, there's something in front of me that has to be done and it will get done. And that's it. Whatever you want to throw at me, whatever happens, if I get an allergic reaction, if there's bad weather, if no matter what it is, it's the fight or flight. It's the head down. We've gotten through everything before and we're gonna get through this. And I think there's three other
fight or flights. So there's fight, flight, or freeze, and then there's cower, people please, and attach, cry. So there's actually three other defense mechanisms that people tend to go into, and I would say yours is people please, to make sure that you're there for them. And then there's cower, which is people just kind of just go, I can't, and then pass it on to the next person because they can't deal with it anymore. And attach, cry is don't leave me, and they'll just kind of smother someone with, like, I just need a break. No, please don't leave me. So there's those as well. So you might be fighting, and that fighting would be people pleasing with that combined as well. So you're putting so much effort into that instead of just stopping, pausing, breathing, and going, what do I need right now?
That's what I'm trying to do a lot more. Exactly what you just said. It's the stop, the pause, the breathe. And like I said, it's slowing everything down. It's like I'll even realize this my voice. I just need to just slow everything down. Otherwise I'm gonna lose control. And it doesn't always work, but I am working at it, and I'm trying. And like I said, again, thank you just for the bank. Like I said, the bank has come in my head a couple of times over the past couple of days since that 2 nights ago. The bank
it'll live
is
in
definitely
your head now, rent free. You'll always be like, the bank's closed.
And it's wonderful. It's the tools. I learned so many tools here and there. When you pick them up, they just go into your head, and sometimes they just pop in, and you're like, thank you for that. Like, just thank you, because that's going to save me from diving off the deep end for no reason. And that's what it always is too. It's you lose control, and then afterwards it's like, was that even necessary? Yes, it was a horrible thing, and yes, it would break a lot of people down, and yes, I had the right to go there. But if I can take a moment, take a step back, breathe through it, and use the tools, use what I have to get through it, and then, like I said, maybe not even deal with it, just enough to get through it, and then the bank is closed, we'll deal with it whenever.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, when I've got, like we said, with dealing with or thinking about attempting to grieve, maybe Monday's not the right day for that. Maybe Monday's it lands on July 4th and it's a public holiday, so therefore the bank's still shut on Monday. Maybe we just need to wait a little bit longer for that, so that you've just got your documents ready to go. And
how long can you wait though?
So then there's complex grief. I mean, there's, I still haven't grieved. Like I said, there's so many things I haven't grieved, and then it turns into anger. So, but the difference is I don't have a family to take care of with special needs as well. I've got my dad who I could question, but it's not like that. So I think in your case, you've got a lot of ways and you're smart too, which is my worst clientele. They're also, when they're smart, I'm like, fuck, what are we going to do? Because you're still going to be able to negotiate yourself here. So you've got a lot of ways to distract yourself from doing things that might be hard, because you'll go, oh, I've got something better that I need to do. It might be nothing, but it's something at that time. and you'll make
Yes.
that. Whereas I'll go and what I used to do is I used to just I'll cause an argument with a family member, or not a family member, but I'll bring up some shit and I'll be like, you know, this has bothered me and I'm ready to fucking tell you now, and I'm ready to, you're done. And
And again, I'm just
did it.
thinking of instances where I can understand exactly what you're saying. You're
Yeah,
basically changing direction, and
completely.
it's subconsciously.
Yeah.
I
Sometimes it's
get
a
that.
conscious way when you're like me, when you've studied enough, you're like, oh, I know what I'm doing, and I'll
Yeah.
laugh about it, and I'll go, yeah, I'm still gonna do this shit though, and I'll send somebody like generally some sort of family member. I don't need to go in depth, but it would just be a horrible voice note because I'll be like, you know what, this has been on my mind for a while, and I'm ready to let loose now. And and they won't know anything about. They'll just be going about their day, and all of a sudden they'll hear about how what 5 months ago what they did affected me, and the 5 months of build up in my tone. It's not pretty. Doesn't sound like this. I always say if I go silent, there's an issue, but if I smile when I'm silent, you don't want to hear from me.
Yeah. That's a scary thing. That's a Jack Nicholson shining face.
Yeah.
The smile.
If I'm screaming at you, I care. Like I've smacked my dad on the back of the head a few times, like get it together, like that. I remember one time, the first time. So it was really weird. I've just finished doing a wait on the toilet, as you do. And we sit as women. And I got up and I flushed the toilet and I went back into the lounge room and we were watching rugby. Wash my hands. I washed my face at the same time because I was sweating. I don't know why I was sweating, so I was watching rugby. And then I went and I sat, and my dad and I heard this huge crash, and I was like, it sounds like plates fell next door. And he's like, what did you just do in there? And I was like, nothing. I just I went to the toilet and washed my face, and I was so hot. Anyway, we went into the bathroom and the whole toilet literally just collapsed. Like marble was everywhere. The toilet, and he's like, how did you sit on the toilet? I was like, I swear to God, I didn't. I just had enough. And he was like, how fucking big is your ass, Lisa? And I was like, I don't fucking know. No, didn't come. So we're having this discussion anyway. So I'm laughing, kind of like, this is ridiculous. Because again, in chaos, I'm like, this is so funny. And he's like, what do we do? He's getting like this plastic bag that couldn't even hold like a feather, or get a hole in it. And he's like running around with bags to try to figure out how to put cracked fucking marble into it. And he's running. So I picked up, it was like what's the thing in the middle of the toilet roll go? I don't know what it's called, forgotten now. It's the toilet roll.
Yeah, the roll.
Yeah, the roll. Anyway, and but it was for the garbage bag. So it was a longer one. And I just hit him on the head as he was going berserk and screaming. He was like, did you just hit me? I said, I did. He said, wow. So what do we do? It just snapped him out of it like that. I was like, we put the fucking shit down and we stop running around the house, first of all, because you're driving me nuts and I don't want to watch the rest of the game. And you're focusing. He's I'm like, we just piss in a can. I don't fucking know. So then he went down to, at the time, there was a person that lived in the building my dad was friendly with, and he helped him. And they, we called the guy renting the apartment from, and they got somebody to come and put like a plastic thing. My dad was like, I don't know, that I just squat, because obviously I was like, it wasn't that part of the toilet I felt that. It was the lid. It wasn't even, it was the top part. I didn't sit on that. I'm not that heavy. He's like, clearly you are. And I was like, here we go. So that was the start of like recognizing my dad sometimes needs it just to snap back into it, because he's better now. But some people just need that snap back to reality.
Yeah, we all need that. I mean, sometimes it just, like I said, it just takes off and you're all of a sudden you're going with it and you're like, well, now that I'm here, do I keep going, or do I do the right thing, take a deep breath and take care of it the way that it should be taken care of?
I was literally laughing. I was laughing the entire time. I was like, I cannot believe this. This is crazy. I took photos of it. And my dad was literally pacing. And I was like, why are you so chaotic? And why am I so peaceful? Like, this is the funniest thing in the world. It's because I'm not. He reacted appropriately.
There's a Ring video. This is going back a couple of months. One day, again, it was one of those days where everything just built, and I was taking out the recycles. And because of Jaden's medical supplies, when we take out cardboard here in this house, I'm taking out ridiculous, because we get deliveries here every day for Jaden's supplies, for everything we need. Yeah. So we get cardboard here is like ridiculous. So I'll usually taking out a couple of boxes filled with boxes that have been broken down and like,
Yeah.
so it's usually like 2 or 3. But like this one day, it was one of those, I was in the mood. I was like, it was cold out. I'm taking everything at once. I'm doing
Oh no, it
everything at
all
once.
fell out.
Now I go out the front door and like I said, this is on the Ring video. It's the funniest thing. I walk out and I'm carrying one box and I'm going to reach for another box. And then like I drop this one box, I trip over another box goes flying and I'm freaking out. And then now I'm kicking the boxes outside. You know, the neighbors are probably like, oh my, and I'm kicking these cardboard boxes that did nothing. And I get everything down and I come back into the house and I'm pissed. And I'm just like, and then I'm sitting there and I go, oh my God, wait a second. That's going to be on the
It
Ring.
was recorded.
And then I go back and I watch it on the Ring and I'm hysterical. And the first thing I do is I send it to Jenny and Dakota so they can watch it and crack up.
I
at
wanna
what an
see it.
idiot I am. I got a file.
You have to upload it.
Oh,
You have to upload it as you're telling the story.
It's the perfect reminder. If you get caught up in the, if somebody would have just bonked me on the head and go, slow down,
stop.
you just pick everything up and just take it. Just why are you losing your mind over some recycled boxes?
It's not about them. It's just you've had your tolerance. That's it. It's like you keep eating when you're full, you're going to throw up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you keep holding shit in, it's going to come out sideways. It's going to come out some way. It's going to come out in a way that you don't want it to come out. Yeah. And so I've got a big phobia of throwing up. And we discussed this last time because of pole. Yeah. So you got to kind of get used to being dizzy while doing a thing called the vomitron, while acknowledging that you've got a phobia called a metaphobia, which is fear of throwing up. You've got to just get used to the shit and then recognize that if you keep suppressing shit down, you keep eating that sandwich that's giving you food poisoning, it's going to come up. You keep doing the same shit, it's going to come up. If you keep having that conversation with yourself as to why I should do this or I shouldn't do this, and you're negotiating, it's going to come up. Everything you push down. And I think it was Robert Downey Jr. He said he had a really good quote. Now it's questionable, but it's good, and I get it. Again, working in the rehab field, it's interesting. But he said, and he's had one of the biggest comebacks in Hollywood. He's just amazing now. And he said the hardest part of giving up drugs and alcohol was deciding to do it. Was when the negotiating with yourself is one of the hardest things to do. He said, after I decided and committed to being sober, it was easy. You got to go through withdrawals. It's not that easy, and then figure out new coping skills. But yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things to do, is negotiate with yourself. Yeah. So, again, like you went, your body at that point was just like, fuck life. I just fuck the box, fuck you and anybody who made the box. But then again, when you watch it later, you're like, that's you watching you at your, like, throwing up emotions.
I think what I'm definitely going to do is Dakota already has that. I'm going to have her add that right now to the end of this. And that's, we're going to end on the stupidity of getting frustrated for no reason and laugh at it, because that's what you got to do. You got to
build up of reasons.
But then, like you said, then when you look back at it, it's like, what? Like,
it's hilarious. I love it.
It's absolutely hilarious. And let's laugh at it. And that's what I'm grateful for is people like yourself who can help me laugh at things and realize, yeah, life is serious. Yes, there are ways of dealing with it, but find the humor in it.
You help a lot of people with that too. You help me with that too. I'm like, what do you mean this, that? Like, I'm reading things, I'm saying things, and you'll just say something and I'll be like, oh yeah, okay. It's like you'll give me a little tap too, but it's a humor one.
We got to laugh at ourselves. So here's the video of me. And we'll leave it at that. And as we always end, with the peace, the love, and the laughter, laugh at me. Laugh at yourself.
Always.